All right, welcome everyone to the September 2020 open discussion meeting of the Mississippi PowerShell user group. I'd like to thank everyone for who shows up tonight. I know it's Microsoft Ignite conference, so I do appreciate anyone who takes time out of the conference to stop by tonight and focus our discussion down a little bit into PowerShell. And we're going to discuss Windows PowerShell versus PowerShell. Why isn't this code working? I've got a little puzzle that I've took about 5 minutes to look at, figured out that it might be a fun one just to put out for tonight's meeting. Have a little bit of a discussion about Ignite and anything else anybody wants to talk about. Just a few guidelines. Definitely participate in the discussion. If nobody participates, it's going to be a rather boring meeting. If you're presenting something, make sure you're aware of how long your presentation is. I don't mind if you want to share something in 5-10 minutes, but if it starts trending into 20 minutes, we may have to pull the plug on the presentation a little bit. Just remember, be respectful, welcoming, and patient. There's going to be new people that have been familiar with PowerShell for a number of years. And the session is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. So that means whatever you discuss here is going to be saved to the internet forever. So be mindful of what you say. So for our quick little puzzle, if you go to one of these two URLs, so the About page for the Mississippi PowerShell user group, or if you go to our GitHub repo, there's a little bit of code on the screen there that works under Windows PowerShell, and the only thing it displays is the email address. Now that's been put in place to stop bots from harvesting the email address. Now it works fine under Windows PowerShell, but under PowerShell 7 it does not work. Now why isn't it working? I don't know. I've only spent about 5 minutes looking at it and thought, rather than beat my head against a brick wall, I'd present it here and see if anybody has any ideas. So at this point, I'm just going to stop sharing, and I'll put the URLs in the chat window too. And if anybody wants to talk, just remember to unmute yourself. So, how's everyone's day been so far? So stop and double check. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. I wasn't able to speak earlier.
Oh, there we go.
I can hear you as well.
Perfect. There we go. Again, there's that momentary panic. Is like, did I misconfigure something, or did I unplug my microphone and I've just been talking with no noise?
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, excellent. So how's everyone's day been?
Yeah, pretty good. I was actually talking about the system.runtime.remoting class isn't available in .NET Core, and that's why the code block doesn't work on PowerShell 4 or 7.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you're using the system remoting class. And where did you get that section? Like get string system coding.
That was something Mike Robbins put together.
Oh.
So I've inherited it, and somebody emailed me about 6 months ago and said, "Hey, this doesn't work." I was like, "Okay, I'll take a look at it." And then last week I took a look at it.
And then discovered, hey, it does work, but just the old way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't even know what this class is, though.
I don't know
Other
either.
metadata, SOAPEX binary. An interesting class.
Yeah, I kind of took a look at it and said, "Yeah, no, I don't think I can do anything with that." If you have any other suggestions, I'm happy to entertain them. All we're looking to do is kind of hide the email address away from bots that are trolling the sites looking for email addresses.
Yeah. In XML parsing data. Find in the world. Interesting.
Yeah, there's some
Have you been
ranges.
doing any Ignite stuff? You excited? You've seen anything? Or you super excited about Ignite?
Well, I am. I started at 9:15 this morning, and 9:15 my time anyway, right when it first started. So I've been I spent most of the morning listening to the sessions and a little bit this afternoon.
Yeah.
Lots of refreshing this afternoon, waiting for the PowerShell community session to open up with more seats.
Get your seat?
So yeah, I was lucky to discover that. But that's what happens when you refresh the page every 2 minutes.
Well, when you hear that there's more spots, and then you go, okay, gotta hit
Yep.
refresh.
Yeah.
Gotta hit refresh. But I have to say though, Teams is really doing a good job, like holding up to all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm impressed. Hey Dave, how you been, man?
Doing pretty good. Just getting used to a new job.
Oh, that's good.
Been
You got
Excellent.
a job.
3 weeks ago. Yes, actual DevOps engineer. So I've only done like a smidge of PowerShell, but then the rest, like Jeff and uh, Python, Ruby-ish code.
Cool, like CI/CD
I'm actually
kind of
wearing
stuff.
I'm actually wearing my DevOps Days shirt from Nashville from last year.
Nice.
$170 when I go.
Represent.
Yep.
It was really weird. Actually, no, it wasn't last year. It was year before last, I think. It was maybe 2 years. I don't know.
Nobody knows what year it is.
Small.
It's still 2019 for like so many of us.
I was just learning about DevOps, so I was very much systems oriented, and then almost everyone else there, including the friend of mine that I went with, developers. So it's like, okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the role. I like the people I work with. So it's definitely challenging. Um, I think it's well within my grasp to to get to progress through. Um, anyway, yeah, I don't want to like keep talking about me. We talk about
Well,
PowerShell.
that's cool. Well, in that same vein, where were you exactly 1 year ago today?
1 year ago today, I was at a global bank,
No, you were not.
AD operations.
You
Do I?
were
Oh,
you were hanging out with me
did
1 year
Facebook
ago
tell you
today.
that it? Okay. Was that
RTP sucks PowerShell Saturday.
PowerShell Saturday?
1
Okay.
year ago today. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting, and then I enjoyed it.
So did we. I think we all did. I'm kind of disappointed that that was a year ago, and now we are figuring out what we're doing today.
Yeah, whatever day that is.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's always a pain. Now I'm looking at this thing there, Dave, and I'm like, what can we do with this? What can we do with this? How can we get around this? That's the struggle.
Struggle is real.
The objective is just to get some generic binary that's cross-plat. Or
Yeah, I'm just looking as well. So the person who gets it fixed first gets a glass or something that's got.
I got a couple PowerShell glasses, I still got some left.
There we go. Like I say, the person who figures it out gets bragging rights. Or a mention on the website. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
It'll say code by.
So are you just looking to do like a simple base 64 in code to keep it from scraping?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could do a bunch of that. I was trying to use that same kind of class and see if I could do. That's all he's doing. He's just ASCII encoding and then using some other thing. It's interesting though. I was trying to keep close to it, but yeah, you can just basically encode it.
Yeah, I mean, we could completely rewrite that and it'll be, as long as it does the job. I don't have any particular attachment to the code there.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I've got to get myself a couple of lights. I think it was, I saw James Petty's tweet today about the lights he bought from Amazon for his session. I'm going to get a couple of those for in here. I tried putting on the overhead light in the office here, and the entire screen went really, really yellow.
This is a physical background I can touch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I kind of figured.
Yeah,
Like
this is
it's
from
very
my
bright.
early '90s in Memphis days.
And you had a really long beard then too, and
I had a ponytail.
Very, very into Unix.
Actually, just had a goatee then. But yeah, it was cool stuff. I had
you're
one of
sporting the mullet
those
too.
beaded doorways or whatever, like beads.
Mm.
Yeah.
Man, you're going way back now, way back.
I just need to remember, like, at least two of the places I used to work at, there was always that one guy. He was the Unix guy, and he always had a ponytail, and a long beard, and a really dark office.
We had a guy who was the unit. He was one of the Unix. Actually, he was a mainframe guy. It wasn't even Unix. It was a straight up COBOL mainframe. And he would sit down at his desk, and he put on gloves, like ski gloves, with the fingers cut out, and he would code like that. And then he every day at 9:30, he would go into the break room and he'd make himself a bowl of cereal and he'd read the paper, and like that was it. And nobody messes with him. He's over there reading the paper, and he'd get his little bowl of cereal, and then he'd come back to his desk and he'd put his gloves back on. It's cold in here. I'm like, okay, it's cold in here. But he put his gloves on. You're like, he's like wearing gloves. But he was good. He was a good guy. But he knew his stuff. But old
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, those are the kind of guys you go to, and you know you're going to get an answer from them.
Well, if you're talking about that, ask him, hey, my email's not working. I'm like, I don't know.
I was like, what's email? Yeah.
Did anybody do any challenges? The in Ignite Skills Challenge?
No. I have not looked at that today. Maybe I'll do that after the meeting before the 11:30 session I'm going to. I'll have a couple hours in between. Can't even remember what the session is. Hang on. Can't remember what I'm signing myself up to. Oh, there we go. My schedule. What have I got tonight? Oh, storage migration service and SMB goodness. That's tonight's session. And then there's a conflict there. I have two scheduled for the same block. There's also the everything you ever wanted to know about PowerShell. But I do like that storage migration service. That is pretty slick.
Yeah.
Actually, the one thing I saw today that was pretty cool was the Azure Auto Manage. Thought that was a pretty cool.
What's that?
Auto manage for well, it says auto managing. Auto managing. I don't know if it's just Azure VMs or if it can do on-prem VMs as well, but it basically handles the auto remediation, looks after your backups and patch management and making sure all the policies and settings are right. They didn't have a lot of detail on it, but it was one of those things I wrote down to investigate later. Has me desperately clinging to my Windows Server admin roots whilst trying to push forward into the cloud computing ecosystem.
Yeah, well, there's so many people clinging on to those things.
Looks like you're concentrating very, very hard.
Me?
Yeah, you got that thinking face on.
Well, working on something.
Yeah.
So,
You've got mail.
the only thing I kind of wish is that with Ignite right now is that I'd like to just go to another session or just review the new session, but it's not. I have to wait, like for the replay. You know.
Yeah, I know they're doing a few of the replays, and if you miss all of those, then you gotta wait. Was it like 24 to 48 hours for it to show up?
Yeah. All right. Here, I'll be back.
All right. So, anybody else attending the Ignite conference today? Tomorrow? Very early on Thursday morning?
Yeah. It kind of didn't even. I mean, it sort of showed up on my radar, but I'm more kind of focused on learning what I got to learn in this new role.
Mm-hmm. That is totally understandable. I am still looking for that. They keep saying there's lots of IT jobs out there. It's like, great. Now, if somebody would just call me back for an interview, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. And it wasn't a quick thing for me.
Yeah, I just gotta keep applying it to various places. The nice thing is, though, we're also looking at moving. So when this whole pandemic blows over, I'll be closer into where there's other people. Can actually attend physical in-person user groups. That'll be nice. Living in the middle of nowhere, Alberta, doesn't help you interact with other IT professionals.
So I just put something in the chat.
Oh, okay.
That's just that looks like it works on 7 and 5.1 as well.
Oh, okay. Hang on. That's
And I learned it from Mike.
nice.
Like from a 2017 post.
Oh. Well, there we go. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if screen scraping could. I mean, they would have to really, really want it.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
look, there's a base 64. Let me go ahead and just. This looks like PowerShell code. Let me run this PowerShell code.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't think they're going to be quite that keen on getting the email address. Was there much of a change there? System text encoding. Oh, Unicode instead of ASCII. Oh, a little bit of a change, yeah.
I mean, it probably could have went with ASCII, but again, just going off of his example.
Yeah.
Which is there.
Oh, excellent.
Now, I didn't do it so you could run it through the PowerShell encoded command like he did, because we just wanted the email address.
Yeah. No, I just ran it just like that. As long as I can copy paste that into PowerShell and it works. That is exactly what we're looking for. Magic. Thank you very much, sir.
I thought I had some code that would let me do like an IP search within a set of ranges, networks. But I guess I don't. And I noticed there's like the automated lab has a module that it uses, and then Chris Dent, I think, has a module indented.ip, which both of those kind of do the same thing. Anyway, it's just something I want to get through, because one of the things that I've used PowerShell for is as a magic decoder ring.
Oh, okay.
Like I had one place I worked, their naming scheme was like 2 characters and then the octet, the last octet attached to that. So like AB 143 or something like that, and the last octet was 143. But we would never know exactly which, what server like a particular IP address may be on, because that was just for the host address, and then there were secondary addresses on a secondary IPs that was added, and those were the things that were allowed direct connection in from the outside or whatever. And anyway, I wrote something that would go against the vCenter to basically pull all of the IP addresses that it has and then associate it with a VM. So obviously it didn't work unless it was a VM, but it was still pretty decent. But yeah, decoder rings are are nice to have,
Hmm.
especially when you're new into an environment. Um, there's a JSON file that's got all of the subnets in it, but I want to be able to, say, hey, this is an IP address. What subnet is it in?
Hmm. Yeah, it's certainly a useful tool to have. Yeah, I find that's probably one of the most fun yet most terrifying part of a new job is just learning the new environment.
Yeah.
They
And the
hire
people
you
too.
on, they expect you to know things, and you get in there and you feel like you don't know anything.
Well, here's the thing. It's like they hired me and it was, heavy with AWS and things like that. And, it's like I got no AWS skills except, I've got like my personal website running out of a S3 bucket and CloudFront and blah, blah, blah. But I did that a couple of years ago a couple of years ago. I don't even know. Um, I don't know. I got it working. Um,
Hmm.
but now, this other stuff, CloudFormation and doing everything with CI, that's kind of cool, and it's where I
Hmm.
wanted to be. um, and one of the things is, it's like I took a job working for a place that I used to work for as a systems guy that worked with the developers, and then when I went back as an actual developer, I felt kind of welcomed and things like that, but it was a little difficult with the transitioning from like a senior systems engineer to an intermediate developer just out of the gate.
Hmm.
And they knew up front that where my skills lie. Like PowerShell check, AD check, the ADFS that the role that I was gonna that I got hired into was going to be supporting from a developer standpoint. I built it, so check.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, ultimately that didn't work out, and I, you know, had like a death in the family, and then just this COVID thing. So anyway, it's a lot better, and they say things happen for a reason, which is a good way for us to um, the way that humans not really approve, but how they come to terms by
Hmm.
saying things happen for a reason. Things just
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And you can choose that they happen for a reason to help you feel better about the event.
Hmm.
So I'm choosing to feel better about the event because I actually heard that they were like going to be furloughing some people, and also like the sea levels or whatever, they might actually be taking like a pay cut or something because they got hit hard by COVID.
Hmm.
I think like 150 million or something like that dropped out of the budget because of um, the housing and other stuff. But anyway, it was. I'm glad that happened, and I'm glad I had. I interviewed a few places, but not a lot. There wasn't really anything, and I didn't want to get back into the exact same job that I've had for like 15 years. You know,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
was making a choice. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. I want to be a developer or I want to be DevOps. And I even almost considered like an AD job um, with a company here local. I think there might be maybe like a regional or something, but ultimately that didn't happen either. So everything just sort of, it was really slow, but it kind of clicked in. I had interviewed. They knew my strengths. They knew my weaknesses. Like I can automate with PowerShell, and I've had some experience with like SCCM things like that. But um, they obviously the environment was much more than that. But
Hmm.
they're okay with it, and over the last 3 weeks and a couple of days, I feel like I've learned quite a bit, and they do, I guess, the Socratic method or whatever, like the one the guy I've been paired with. he was like getting me to tell him how to do the stuff, and okay, well, let's do this and then this, and everything kind of turns out okay. Of course, living in Git and where CI lives and all that, I've been using Git for a while and Visual Studio Code for a while, so that's kind of like a briar patch for me. Me being the rabbit and all. But yeah, so that's about it. I think we had a couple more people join, or at least one. Is that Justin?
Yeah, looks like yeah. I was gonna say it looks like Justin and Greg joined us.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm assuming it's evening where you are. If it's not, don't take offense.
It sounds like somebody's got feedback on their mic.
We've had a bit of an echo the whole meeting. I'm not sure who it is. Might be me.
I just turned down my volume. How about me? Because I'm using I'm not doing like a headset or anything. Is that
I'm not here anymore. Yeah,
it
sounds
doesn't
good.
sound like it's there.
Sorry.
I might turn mine down a little bit too. Yeah, I didn't want to put a headset on either. Been wearing a headset all day for like the entire Ignite conference. My brain wants a break from the headset.
Yeah, I got these MPOW H18s recently, and like they're nice because they only weigh like a quarter pound, so they weigh like nothing, and they're pretty good.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I've got the Microsoft Surface, which, while it's comfortable, still wears on you after a while.
I think it's the only time, like maybe the second time that I've used Blue Jeans. Yeah.
I picked it strictly from a cost point of view. It was about half the cost of any other service.
that must have changed because I designed a large video conferencing infrastructure for a customer, and this was like 3 or 4 years ago. And back then, to do a Blue Jeans like enterprise deployment was 10 grand minimum, regardless of how many meetings you were going to have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this is just a.
But I imagine
Yeah,
the
this is
modern
this-
world and Zoom and everything has changed that
Yeah.
a lot. So
Yeah, I think so because they offered up like a small, you can have one meeting at a time up to 50 people. It's like $9.99 US. So it wasn't terrible. The rest of them wanted $19.99. I was like, nope, don't think so. Not since I'm footing the bill myself. Oh, I still haven't decided for sure. I might switch to one of the others, but we'll see how tonight's recording goes. I've had some problems with the recordings. They only record 720p, and the one meeting we did 2 weeks ago recorded it, but even though our guest was presenting, all it showed on the screen was his webcam. So we'll see. If I can get it all figured out, we'll stick with it, but otherwise, might switch to something else. Teams would be really nice, but I don't see doing that one. So did anyone else stop by the Ignite conference today?
I watched what I could.
Yeah, I spent most of the first 3 hours I've listened to fairly closely, and the rest of it I just kind of left running on the computer and just listened to it as I was doing other work.
Yeah, work got in the way.
Well, thanks to Dave, we already solved our puzzle for the evening. So what's everyone else working on? Anything cool, fun, interesting?
I just made a KeyPass plugin for the new secret management preview. I updated my old one, so that's available.
Oh,
now.
there we go.
Yeah, I bookmarked that. I'm going to have to go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a GIF on my Twitter, and then also if you go to the thing, it shows a GIF. It's pretty straightforward to use. I tried to make it really simple, so. My other little side project has been I made a little PowerShell script that basically gets into a private API in Azure portal and harvests all the spot pricing for all the virtual machines in all the regions. And so I'm up to like 500,000 data points in Azure table storage, and I'm trying to find trends. And the weirdest thing is that like I keep thinking there's something wrong with my code because almost no prices have changed in that entire period. But like I confirm it independently with the spot checks and stuff, and it checks out. So. I guess maybe Azure spot prices are just super static, unlike AWS spot prices.
I was kind of watching that over the last few days.
Well, AWS spot prices are like prices of products on Amazon. They fluctuate wildly.
Yeah, but I was like, for a lot of these spot prices, I mean, I've got all these comparisons for sweet spots, so I have easy to nail down. I'm going to build a site out of it. It was going to be like my experiment with Blazor WebAssembly, trying to build a app for it with PowerShell, Azure Functions as a backend, all running PowerShell. But so I already have like a basic data table view with Power BI, and it's really easy to just sort of sort by like where you're going to have the most savings. And like you can find ones that are like 95% off the price. I mean, like virtual machines that normally cost $12 an hour cost like 3 cents an hour on Azure Spot. It's pretty crazy. The catch is that they have to be in like a pay-as-you-go or a paid account. Like you can't do them in dev accounts or MSDN accounts or anything like that. But still, for a couple applications that we have, and part of the reason I did this was to see like, well, okay, well, how volatile are those, and don't have to worry about them being shut down. And so we have a couple test machines running, and so far none of them have been shut down, and the prices haven't fluctuated. So I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, we can totally do that for a lot of these like secondary components of these systems and save a ton of money. Bosses always like to hear that. So.
Yeah, they tend to like the words save and money in the same sentence.
Especially when it's like, yeah, you see this lab environment over here? I can knock 20,000 a month off of it, and nothing changes about it.
Yeah. Yeah, as Dave Johnson there in Portal 2 said, put those numbers into my calculator, it makes a happy face. However, I just realized I might be the only Portal 2 fan here.
I don't think so.
Well, okay. I do like my Cave Johnson quotes, though.
If I were to take my laptop and move it upstairs, I have a bathroom that's all Portal themed, and it has the Cave Johnson portrait, and it has a motion sensor. When you walk past it, it does all the Cave Johnson aphorisms.
Yep.
Most of them are short, but every once in a while, if you're lucky, you get the entire Lemon monologue.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see that once. That was on. I saw that on Think Geek once, and I thought about buying it, but then by the time I bought it, exchange rate, shipping, it was like 2.5 times the original cost.
Sure.
I still thought about it though, because that sounded awesome. So, Greg, have you been up to anything interesting? Oh, I think
No, not really. We're still trying to finish up this migration to Office 365, and
still
I
ongoing.
have a new title, custodial engineer, because I'm having to go behind the identity management team, clean up, not creating accounts right. But I don't know how much money on SailPoint, and still having to run my little PowerShell scripts to clean up behind them. It's old.
Well, all you got to do is change the L to an N, and you're officially an IT janitor.
Yep. That's how we feel right now. It's so sad. We spent all that money on this system and we're still having to go behind them. But no, I've been playing, reading Josh Duffney's book, Become Answerable. Playing with it and DSC a little. Not the fun stuff I want to do, but
I started like working a little bit with DSC as well in this new role. Hadn't like most every place where I worked before, it was too small, or way too big to actually have a good CI going on for like their infrastructure as code stuff. So I think I'm in a sweet spot where I'm at.
if I can get everybody on board, I am too, but the problem is time. So much break fix with this migration.
Yeah, I can get a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Have you been through much of
Has
the
everybody-
PowerShell conference book?
Do what? Sorry.
Do what?
I think we all talked at the same time.
What'd you say about the
I was
PowerShell
gonna ask
conference
the same
book?
question.
I was just going to say, did you get through much of the PowerShell conference volume 3?
I hadn't even read it yet. I'm still finishing up volume 2.
Oh, I don't feel so bad then. I bought it and then I haven't read it yet.
I've got like of course I bought it and I contributed to both 2 and 3. I feel like 3 was probably better, the contribution on experimental features. But about like Shell of an Idea, I read some of it. I haven't been able to get to reading a lot. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube on retro gaming, repairing stuff like at the board level, things like that, and cooking, like pizza stuff, sort of like gourmet-ish, like Home Pro or whatever. Anyway, so that's, I guess instead of reading, I've been kind of devouring content that way.
Yeah, I've been watching.
I was going to say with the cooking, you've been devouring your content, literally.
Yeah.
Watching Plural
Definitely
Site,
consuming it.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
YouTube stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
most of
signed
that.
up for what was it? Mike Pfeiffer's Cloud Skills IO. I signed up for the Azure admin, and I've logged in once, but that's it. And that was a couple of months ago. Like, now it's like I need to know AWS before I need to learn Azure. So whatever.
The good news is the skills translate really, really well. I feel like Azure was purposely built with a lot of the same terminology of AWS in mind, or like there were a lot of the core stuff in terms of like virtual machines, serverless computing, PaaS, etc. That's all mostly the same. The areas where like Azure gets a bit different is like Azure App Service is like a whole thing that like there isn't really an equivalent in AWS. But yeah, there's a lot of like very equivalent services on both sides, so the skills translate pretty well.
Cool.
Like storage accounts work fairly similar to buckets, etc.
Oh, that's good to know. I still got about 2 or 3 weeks left of studying for the Azure Fundamentals exam, and then move into the administrator.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but with the Ignite, they have this skills challenge thing that if you go do it, and it's pretty straightforward, it doesn't take too long, you can get a cert voucher for any Azure test, which includes like the $165 ones. So it's not any Azure test, but it's pretty much all the important like Azure ones for all the like main Azure certifications for what you'd want to do. So definitely check that out.
Oh yeah. for sure.
I have a tweet on
I'll
that
have to
too. I'll
look for
put
that
it up.
tomorrow.
That is definitely going to have to be done tomorrow.
I know you said you did like I said, I bookmarked yours to the key pass thing. I think Tyler did one for LastPass.
Yeah, he did. He did basically. He showed an example of like wrapping a command. How you can just because the secret management, the way that it works is basically you have this nested module that has all the same commands like get secret, set secret, etc. But they're pretty easy to make. Once you have that part, then it's just filling in the get secret and the set secret and taking the information and then giving it stuff back. And you can do it pretty much however you want. So my approach was I used an assembly that was available since KeyPass is written in C#. I just took they have a portable assembly that you can use, kind of like how Import Excel works, where you can work with Excel files without having Excel installed. I have this thing where you work with KeyPass files even without having KeyPass installed, and just use that API to kind of save the files and open them. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And the one that Tyler showed is like how to just like wrap a command. If you have like wrap the LastPass command line, and so if you have any other password manager like HashiCorp Vault or anything like that, you could easily just swap out what he put in for LastPass and then put in the equivalents for that command. So it's a good example.
Yeah, we're supposed to get CyberArk at work. You use it with CyberArk.
Yeah. It's basically like three approaches. You can go for it the command line way. You can go for it like if you have an API or SDK to go that way. And then if you have to, you can just go like the straight up REST API way if you need to. But it's pretty general. Like they purposely made it pretty generalized. But because of the way that it was implemented, and I argued with Paul Higginbottom, who's the main writer on it, I argued with him a lot about a different approach, but this is the one that they stuck with. Because they're doing it with the nested modules, they are very difficult to troubleshoot. Like if something goes wrong, you have like one nested exception that doesn't have any kind of stack trace, so you can't find out where it happened in your code. You can debug it a bit if you do some crazy creative stuff, but for the most part, you end up with a lot of write host lines trying to figure out what's going on. But the good news, if you're just a secret management consumer, you shouldn't have to worry about any of that. That's all on us extension developers, so it works pretty nice. They took a lot of feedback from the first attempt, and this newer kind of revision of the Preview 3 fixes a lot of the stuff that we were complaining about, so I'm pretty happy with it. Same with the PowerShell get is now finally kind of like getting to the point of being actually usable, the version 3. Like I use it day to day now for most of my installs. I use install PS resource instead of install module.
You have to attend the I guess for the skills challenge for Ignite. You have to attend that.
Yeah, you just have to do it. It's pretty straightforward. It's nice. Like they have a PowerShell one, and yeah, they're fun to do anyways, and the cert is just a nice perk on top. I think let me find the skills challenge list.
Y'all have a good evening. I'm going to call it a night. It's been a long day.
All right. I'll see you at the next meeting then, Greg.
Yes,
Have
sir.
a good evening.
You too.
There's a link to the list of challenges directly. Yeah, like the App Maker Challenge. They're basically just marketing things, but. So the Azure Apps and Infrastructure would be a good one if you're trying to kind of get a general idea of how Azure stuff works.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to have a look at that. Tomorrow, when my brain works again.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a good one on Teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the apps and infrastructure, the Azure apps and infrastructure will probably be the best bet.
And it goes till like October 7th, so it's not like you got to get it done right away.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah. There we go. I was just about got to that. Yeah, that's nice. It's nice I don't have to rush and try and do it by the end of like tomorrow or something. If anyone wants to hang out for longer, or if you need to call it a night, either way, I'm happy to keep the meeting going.
Be good. Have a good night.
Although at the top of the next hour, I'll probably pull the plug though, because then it'll start getting late here too.
Yeah.
There is. Isn't there a Twitter module? I feel like there's a.
Oh,
Is it the Research Triangle PowerShell user group has the presentation coming up, don't they?
yeah. That's actually something that I had written. I haven't really got back to it in probably a couple of months. So I know there was like the PS Twitter API that was already out there,
Mm-hmm.
but the commands were not PowerShell. They didn't really adhere to a lot of the
The standards,
best
like the
practices.
verb.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like verb dash noun underscore stuff underscore maybe stuff.
Mm.
And so I went through and I built out a PowerShell custom class for the OAuth, the O authorization, I guess.
Mhm.
And because it was the first time I ever messed with OAuth 1, and it was pretty intense. You have to like the link that you want to, the resource you want to get from the API, you have to put that in and do some conversion on it with every call. So it's not like it's just a bearer token where, off of V2, where you have that token and you can do anything that token lets you do. With the other, you have to, like I said, build an authorization string, authorization signature, and all of that has to be part of the request, which was a little complicated. Like Adam's got something, Adam Bertram's got something that does Twitter, some very basic stuff, and then of course Mark Hellman's his Twitter API's got that as well. And I wanted to have all this stuff kind of pulled away from someone who wanted to do the development of new commands. It's like when I showcased it, I guess, on a tweet chat. I forget when, but everything that I did on Twitter in that hour was done through the PowerShell commands, except looking at what I want, like the ID, message ID, the tweet ID that I wanted to like reply against and stuff, and that was just a lot quicker to just grab that from the web, from the web itself. So anyway, and I had forgot to add a particular command, and I had to do it like in the first 10 minutes of that hour. But then I got it up and going and was able to, because what I built was, I mean, it's pretty straightforward to add additional like get tweet, send tweet reply, whatever. It's pretty easy to send additional stuff. And one of the things that the module does that I've got, it can send up images. correctly, because I don't think Marks can do images correctly. I remember seeing like a issue on that hasn't been addressed yet. Of course, somebody put in a couple issues for mine, and I haven't addressed those in a couple of weeks either. So, but weeks is probably better than months. Anyway, yeah, and so I was hoping to get some maybe buy-in from the community, because I want it to be community-led module, so I wouldn't have to. So the community would be happy with it, the majority anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we that's where it's at. And I think so. I think in December and in October, I'm slated to do a presentation on those. One for, I believe, RTP SUG, and then the other one is for, I believe, the SoCal group. SoCal group that, what was his name? Kevin Marquette used to run. I forget who runs it now. Maybe Bubkey something. I forget the name. So anyway, yeah, that was. I need to this next week. My wife's actually getting ready to fly to California, so I'll have a week that I have just to myself and a couple of dogs, and I'll be able to maybe focus on some of the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I heard about it, and I was thinking, that might be handy. I could just put that in a scheduled task and just do my daily tweets just through a quick little PowerShell script. Just run this, grab a random joke, and post.
Yeah, the weird thing is you have so to use it, you have to sign up as an actual Twitter developer. So you have to have an account for that. And I think since they recently released their API 2 or whatever, the version 2 of their API, and so there's new data that's coming down that's more streamlined, but there's different ways to do it, and I've got to figure out basically if that broke any of the stuff that I've already done. So the cool thing is what I've got. I think it just pulls back the raw JSON and just does a convert from JSON. So I don't have like any custom classes, though I can see that in the future. For the different types, like they have a class for hyperlink, they have a class for tags, whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of things that's like that. And it was like the second or third API that I've worked with, and it was interesting. And it's like their documentation, especially for their version 1 of the API, is horrible. And one of the things that Mark was doing was going and screen scraping the documentation to build out the commands, which he basically did one command per endpoint, but really so there's to delete or whatever, I think there's a separate command for each one of those, but the parameters are kind of wild because he's not doing any checking to see if the table is set up right. So if column A in the table has name or whatever, like let's say screen name, the next column might have, hopefully should have a parameter, but it could have some text because somebody didn't know how to create a good table in HTML. So it's like there's garbage in the tables, which then becomes garbage in the parameters if by just doing it straight like that. So, but same token, it's kind of hard to, I think the version 2 is supposed to be better documented and whatnot. So Um, I don't know if I'll ever get to the point of wanting to magically create the commands that goes out and does stuff. Anyway,
Either way, I'll keep an eye on that. Keep my eye open for further developments from you.
well, it's actually it's on GitHub underneath
Is it PowerShell
module.
PowerShell module / Twitter?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of. Yeah, I've
Oh.
put that. I've got that one starred.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Hey guys. Why
Good
don't
thing I stayed.
where the hell's my video?
I don't know.
Does that work? Hold on. I just installed the client. Video options.
I asked him if he was gonna join or not. So it's a good thing that I stayed on. Giving him crap about not joining.
Especially after you said, "Hey, post the link." I was like, "All right."
Yeah. Well, I think he said post the link.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Well,
He said, post the link, and I was like, "Well, okay."
Well, the reason I said that is you're like, hey, 30 minutes to still join the meeting, and if someone's never seen that, they're like, what meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll maybe adjust my tweets because I have one set for 30 minutes prior, and then the one 15 minutes prior has the direct link. But maybe I'll just mash them together and put it all into 30 minutes and just do it as one.
Oh, because I got this stupid.
So, yeah, Mike, you missed it. We had all of the PowerShell team on, and they had to leave early, and you missed every one of them.
Ah, damn it! So much timing. What's going on, guys?
Just stuff.
Dave, that background. Oh my God, my eyes are on fire.
It's real.
You just don't want anybody to be able to enjoy a look at you, huh? How's the new job?
I love
About 5 minutes ago, I actually had to look away from the screen because I was like, "Whoa,
what? Really?"
It's like my eyes are going kind of funny there.
Okay. Well, okay, I can fix that, right? So I can choose a virtual background. Let's do.
It is pretty awesome, though. That is a pretty awesome background, though.
Does that work in? Hey.
Oh, I gotta download the virtual background package. Yeah. Oh, that's really.
Or oh wait, ooh. Let's blur this a little bit.
It's marginally better. How are we doing backgrounds? Is that?
So if you click on settings, it pulls up preferences, and then there's a virtual backgrounds.
Choose virtual background. There it is.
Yeah.
Now I got to find my virtual background.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a whole set of them under Teams, and I don't know where that folder is now.
Oh, you know what? I don't know how you can add another one because it doesn't have like a.
Oh, it doesn't?
He did it though. Where'd you get that at?
What?
Oh, that's Taco. So, add an image. There, I see what you're doing.
Yeah. But oh my God, the background. I have half a head.
How about this?
There we go.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, this is not a football stadium. This is actually a like a 7,000 scale version of a MOS 6502 8-bit computer CPU.
Oh.
Oh. Whatever he just said. So, Clem, say hello. Is he dead?
I'm here.
There's been a couple of people that have been pretty quiet.
Hey, Clem. Hey, I think that I don't know your Twitter handle, and I posted your video 2 weeks ago with no credit to you.
I'm totally fine with that.
And okay, he wants to blend in the background. Okay, I don't know what that means to blend in the background. I'm sorry. Yeah, and then I was browsing the other day, and I'm like, I think that's his Twitter handle. I should go back and edit that.
Yeah, it's just first name, last name.
Gotcha. No, we posted your talk about the SSL.
Yeah, I saw the thing about SSL Labs.
Yeah. Yeah, but I usually like to give the person who did it some credit, and I just put your name. I couldn't link to your account because I didn't know it at the time.
Sure. Now I live in Iowa, so we had the derecho come through, and for about 4 weeks, it's been pretty crazy. Things are finally starting to get cleaned up.
Cool. So anybody been doing some Ignite stuff so far?
Yeah.
No.
Did you say no, Dave?
No, I said yes. I've been
Correct.
in most of the day.
Oh,
There's Dave and David in my world, but I'll be more clear, I guess.
Oh yeah. I suppose we had that problem last week too, didn't we? There was like 4 Davids or 5 Davids in the meeting.
yeah. Maybe. I think I missed
These
that.
are the Daves I know. I'll have to search out that video on YouTube for next time.
So, David,
Mm-hmm.
if you are interested, you James Petty is offering Teams accounts to user group leaders if you prefer to use Teams.
That might be nice.
Yeah.
That might be a bit smoother.
If that's something you're interested in, obviously you can use whatever you like, but it's the same account that I use for my group, and then I can record and I pull it off a stream and it goes up on YouTube, and so there's some cool stuff there.
I'm gonna just make a note of that right now.
I would vote for that just from a simplicity standpoint. I use Teams for other stuff.
Yeah, I would much prefer use Teams, but I didn't know there was any other option for.
We've been working on it, and I haven't made. I should be talking it up more.
Well, then everybody would want it.
But
I have a PowerShell group here in Nashville. It's just me.
Well, James and I know who has groups and who doesn't, but
yeah, I rarely meet.
There we go. Added that to my notes.
We're trying to do other stuff too for the groups.
Well, that's good because, I mean, it's a number of people out there, kind of like myself, who has, really just trial by fire here.
Mm-hmm. Once we get past this little blurb of stuff here, if you want, I'll throw myself on your calendar somewhere. I could do a chat talk about something if you need some speakers or whatever.
I think the next meeting opening, if I'm not mistaken. Now, let me look at the site now because I don't want to say for sure, but I think the next one is going to be December, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I got to take a look here. Hang on. Just give me a second.
And Dave, you all set for your thing next week, I think?
Next week.
Next week. It's the week after, right? 2 weeks. I think October 7th, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have some time starting tomorrow night that I can work on it. And just talking with David about the Twitter module itself. So I got to kind of get in and see what else. Make sure that their release of the second version of the API didn't break my stuff all to hell and back.
So do you have something set up that is auto forwarding or auto retweeting my tweets? Because, man, you are lickety split on that like seconds, and I'm like, there's some automation there.
There's no automation. So
you just need to get more.
I have a notification set for a few people. You happen to be one of them. I was wondering if you're going to pick up on that.
Some would call that stalking.
I spend a little too much time on social media, so
it's no. Well, it's all on the phone. It's all on the phone. Yeah. But no automation. Who do you think I am, Jeff Hicks?
Well, you could do something with IFT pretty easily, or Zapier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who all do I have that I'm?
No, the reason I asked is because I'm very much interested in your talk, because I would like to do some automation for my Twitter stuff, because I'm using third-party tools, and I have no problem spending money, but I don't want to spend a ton of money to do some basic stuff.
Right.
So right now I have a tool that I'm using to repost links every 4 months, and it works really well. It's $5 a month. It's easy, but it's just a scheduler. All I need to do is set up like a job and then be able to talk to Twitter, and then I'd be good.
Kind of funny. I said something very similar just before you logged in too. I was just looking for some way to automate the jokes and do all that stuff.
Oh, I use a website called HighPlay, highplayapp.com, and I use Buffer. If you're familiar with Buffer,
Sounds familiar.
so
Yeah.
Buffer is a tool that allows you to load up. Let's just call them social media posts, because it's more than just Twitter, right? But I'm using it mostly for Twitter and LinkedIn. So you load up a bunch of posts, and then it will trickle them out at predetermined times that you set. So if you notice, almost all my tweets come out at 12:05 p.m. That's because they're coming from Buffer. So I can load up some stuff into the Buffer queue, and it'll just drip them out whenever I want. And then this HighPlay app has a connection to Buffer, and it does the scheduling, the retweets every 4 months. And so it takes that and it just dumps it into the Buffer queue, and Buffer then drips it out whenever it's supposed to do it. For Twitter and LinkedIn, it takes a little bit to set up in the beginning, but once it does, it's awesome. I can share my screen. I can show you guys if you're interested.
Sure. Yeah, we still got some time.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, I was thinking about using like one of the Azure function or something like that would go out and like scan the or pull the RSS feed from my site, and then just randomly pick something to cast out again, to tweet or whatever. I kind of thought about that.
So this is Buffer. If you guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I have nothing in my queue. See 000. So this is my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and RTP Sug LinkedIn. So if I go to analytics, this will show you my old posts, just to show you that the stuff coming through here. But if we go back, you have a queue. So what this says is if I drop something in here right now, I love pizza, add to queue. Okay, that is set to be sent out at 8:04 a.m. tomorrow, because I built a slot. Let's just delete that for a second. You see, these are the slots that I made: 8:04, 12:05, 6:37. Right. So what happens is it fills these slots whenever you put something in here. So if I make another tweet, I love pizza, more. Right, I can say add to queue, or I can go ahead and I can share now, or I can schedule it for way in the future. And then I can also select and do multiples at once, right? And it pulls in hashtags, right? It knows about people. Are you the Dave Carroll, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it queues all that up, and it keeps a count of how many things I have left. And if I put a link in here, like, it will then go out and read that and look for the images in that post. And if you don't pick an image, it will pick the first one in the post. And I don't even, this is the group. Let's try this one. Meet up.
See, I think that's how we got, who was it, New York Times or somebody like that. They were talking about Usain Bolt getting COVID, and then had a picture of Kevin Hart.
Yeah. So you see here,
And
I put in a link
yeah,
for one of my meetings, and the first image in that is the meeting picture for the meetup, and then this is all extra images that are in meetup, right? If I don't pick one, it's going to pick the first, and it'll hot link that automatically. If I say add to queue, that's all set to go for tomorrow. And then, oh, you know what? I don't want to send that out tomorrow. I'll just send it out Thursday at 3 o'clock, and I don't have to worry about it. That's done. So that's buffer, right? And then I have a tool called High Play App. And what this is so this is a little probably confusing at first. So when you tweet stuff, you have to understand that if you have a couple of hundred followers, very few people actually see your tweet because it's just a stream of consciousness, right? It's hard to go back and see past history. So what this here is these are all the tweets that I've done, but let me go to the catalog. So I have a content library, and I set up 3 categories: RTP sub content, my own, and PowerShell.org. So if I go here, some of these may look familiar, right? So this is my most recent tweet that I want to recycle that I sent last week. This is an article, and what it'll do is it will keep a counter based on the date. I have settings in here. I think it's 120 days have to pass. And after the 120 days, it goes into the pool of available tweets, and then it will grab it. So over here, there's a schedule, and it says, on Mondays at 10:05, tweet something from the PowerShell.org list. Tuesday, tweet something from the R2P side list. And on Thursdays, tweet something from my list. That's for Twitter, right? And then on LinkedIn, same thing. I have a different schedule. Sundays, tweet something about me. And what that does is it just pulls from this content library, whatever tag you put on it, based on time, and just recycles it. So I figure 4 months is long enough apart that people, hey, look at that. Here's the Clem one right here. But he doesn't want me to use this thing, so I won't. All right, so this will be recycled in like 3.5 months. And what
You
this
can
does,
use the name.
sure, let's give you some
People aren't
credit.
going to know who it is, but that's totally fine.
Well, you know what? You're not going to be a nobody you'll be a nobody forever if you have that attitude, right? Let's get you some credit. You did a good job. But so my point is, this will then connect to Buffer and just drop it into this queue, and then it'll just pick the next time slot available. So it's pretty much automated. The only thing I have to do here is I have to go into this unprocessed tab and say, like, this is not something I'm going to retweet. So garbage. There's probably nothing here. Garbage. You know what? Maybe I'll retweet. And that's all I got.
Ideally, you wouldn't want to retweet anything that has like meeting information, like this month is this or whatever.
Right. So it may seem like a lot of work, but I've been doing this a long time now. The tweets after meetings are written in a specific way so that they can be retweeted. So like if you go to the content library here and we go to RTP Sug, right? So check out this demo from Clem Mesley, right? Check out this automation tool, right? And it's always to the YouTube link, not to the meeting or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and that's why it looks like I'm always on Twitter all the time, but I'm not really. It's just a lot of automation that's happening. But I really am on Twitter too much, so.
It's almost
But
like it's almost like you have a notification, right? Or that says, "Hey, go tweet something," so Dave can retweet it.
Yeah. So So what's tomorrow? Tomorrow is Wednesday. Schedule. I have nothing being automated tomorrow. So today something came out for. Oh, I wonder what came out today. I don't even remember. I'll have to look. Oh, it's supposed to be today. I think I messed up. I think that's in the wrong category. Fix that. So that's, and my total spend on this is $5 a month.
Actually, pretty good.
And that's just for high play.
That's just for this, yeah.
Yeah, it does look like. Yeah, initially it looks like a lot of work, but it's probably a time saver in the long run.
So I have here categories. So you can see over here, I have 25 tweets that'll get reposted for me, 15 for RTP Sug, and I have to. RTP Sug has over 100 videos now, and we just haven't tweeted them out. So as I tweet them out, they'll get added and this content grows. And the bigger the pool, the less frequent the posts come up. So you don't really see the repeat that often. And then I set it for settings, 115 days. So it's a pretty cool tool. And actually, Dave, if you're interested in something like this company says if you write a blog post about them, they'll give you 6 months free. I was about to do that, and I haven't done it yet. See this here?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Be a little bit of a time saver because I must spend half an hour on Saturdays queuing up and getting all the week's social media posts into a text file.
Yeah. So
all I have to do is copy paste them, but even that's still a bit more manual than I would like.
Yeah. So where's the chat for this?
Yeah, I have nothing like that. It's been a while since I've actually posted an article, and that's why I feel like if I'm just retweeting, that's something, to help broaden the reach.
Yeah. So if anybody uses that link, I'll get a referral, and you guys will both get something free out of it. But it works pretty well. I have no problems with it. They have bigger plans, but I don't really have a need for it. There's some of the stuff I want to do, but it takes some time to do all this stuff.
I was using Hootsuite at one point.
They raised their prices. They have a nice product, but these tools are not really designed for us. They're really designed for businesses.
Oh yeah.
Who don't mind spending $30-$40 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was using the free tier, and then as soon as Facebook pulled their API for personal accounts, its use really fell a lot, because then all I was using it for was Twitter, and it's like, well, if I was going to use it for is Twitter, then I might as well just log in manually and do it myself.
So let me show you ways around that. So you can use Buffer. Buffer will allow you to queue up 10 posts. Okay, no cost, simple to set up. And then on top of that, if you use TweetDeck, you're familiar with that?
No.
So TweetDeck is a third-party client that Twitter bought, and it's theirs now. So you can use the Twitter web interface or the Twitter client for yourself. TweetDeck is a way to see multiple categories and stuff at once. I don't want you to look at any of this. What I want you to look at is when you go to tweet, you can schedule.
Oh, okay.
So between Buffer
too, right?
and between TweetDeck, you literally, with a little bit of work, you probably could schedule 15 to 20 tweets. It's just hard to keep track of them all.
Now, one of the things I use TweetDeck.
I didn't even see that. What does Buffer do?
One of the things that I use TweetDeck for is whenever we're doing the tweet chat.
Yeah.
I have a column that's just for tweet chat, and I have a column that's for PowerShell or whatever. The hashtag.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have tweet chat. and it's so much easier, that column here, to follow.
Oh yeah.
That, yeah.
Until you have the direct API integration with Twitter, could you hook that tweet deck up to, say, Selenium and create your own sort of scheduled automation that way? Are the buttons always repeatable in the same place?
I think so, yeah. Selenium looked cool, but frustrating. And I was like, I really want to learn it, but I almost don't need more frustration in my life.
Well, there's other things too that would take the place of Selenium. It's not necessarily a PowerShell solution, but so I'm trying to think of the name of the software I use. I downloaded it was super cheap, and it's basically a voice recognition software I use for my golfing. I have a little golf simulator, and I can tell it, just by voice commands where to click on the screen to move the cursor 3 strokes left or pick a different screen. And it allows me to do the same sort of freeform automation that Selenium does. It's just, for me, it's simple voice automation.
If you come up with the link or whatever, shoot me a message or whatever. I'd be curious to do that. I want to do a lot more. I'm just pretty saturated with time. So
you've seen how much I tweet so far, Mike, but it is a curious concept. I do want to start trying to put snippets, just little things, so that I can, if nothing else, find them later myself. So I am trying to force myself to get back in and do a little bit more on the Twitter side, even if it's not a full module. Just saying, hey, here's how I sort IP addresses, because the natural sort doesn't work. So yeah, I'll take a look at TweetDeck and see.
The only thing I would say is, just try to stay active in the community, because I can tell you guys that I have gotten opportunities to do stuff that would not have come my way if I didn't sort of be active. Just chances to write, or even opportunities for jobs. So it definitely can pay off.
Definitely. I got my job because I wrote an article, and then the person I wrote the article, the module that I wrote the article for, he got my resume in front of his boss, who is now my boss.
Yeah, my problem is my current boss isn't, my direct boss is open-minded to social media and open source platforms, but our company as a whole seems to be very reluctant about us sharing things, even if it has absolutely nothing to do with PI data, which drives me up a wall. Otherwise,
that is
I
frustrating.
would love to share a lot more, because, what I've learned is what basically I've picked up from other people and just changed a little bit to make it useful for my purposes. Like in the background of this call, I was parsing IIS web server logs to find when an access denied error happened because somebody removed permissions off of a folder and the site went down. And it
You sound way
became
more
super
productive
easy.
than me.
It was actually super easy once I found the delimiters for the columns on the file, because it's all just space delimited files, setting a header delimiter. So I mean, things like that are things that I'm hoping that I can get the green light to at least share, because to me they have absolutely nothing to do with financial services or proprietary information. It's just it's pure. I'm parsing a file. I'm not even showing the data of the file, right? But I'm still working on getting that green lighted, hopefully in the next few days. But it's been a frustrating road. I've been since that it kind of came up from the SSL lab one. I got a talking to. But afterwards, he was really cool about it.
It's just he wanted me to make sure that I dot my I's and cross my T's so that I don't get anyone in trouble.
See, I just got a notice, Mike.
From Mike.
Oh.
5
And
after.
that's how I do it.
No, I was
So,
responding to someone.
I posted a link, Clem, about.
I just realized that you probably don't want alerts from me. Phone's probably going off all the time today.
It was going off some, yeah. Especially this afternoon when I was out getting dinner. There was a lot that came through. I don't know. I forget who all did it, but so there was. You mentioned sorting the IP addresses. Apparently, you can use the version class to do that, and I copied the link into the chat, Clem. That's very unique. I mean,
it's super easy. It's just if a person doesn't think about it or know about it, then I usually spend 10 minutes rehashing, looking at Google before I finally go back and look at my own repository and go, oh, well, yeah, it's right here. But it just blows my mind that stuff like that, they seem to have a hesitancy of sharing outside of the inner walls of the company, which, again, that has absolutely zero proprietary data to it.
and sometimes
Kind
it
of a
might even be
frustration.
about the data. It might be about the IP. Like if they say anything that you do on company hardware is company owned, as whether you do it 8 to 5 or after hours or whatever. I mean that might be one. I have no idea. It could be a reason for people to say that. Like I worked with somebody in higher ed, and he used his laptop to make bucks. His college laptop to make bucks through a third party, and I always thought that was pretty low integrity to do. Like get your own laptop and do it. You're making the bucks because he was like a chair of the computer science, and it's like, okay, he always made sure that his class is made, and to heck with anybody else's. So it could be about intellectual property. It could be about it may not just be about the data. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I feel like that crap is more about, and rightfully so in some cases. It's easier for some people. He got another alert. I think it's about them not having to worry about someone saying something stupid, so they just make it say, no, you can't do any of that.
Well, and I'm sure that there are people that in the past have abused it, just like people abuse working from home, right? So, but by the same token, if we don't know the answer, I'm third level. There's not a lot of other people that I can go to internally. So what do? I have to go out to Kevin Marquette's website or Jeff Hicks or any of the other number of people that have shared their samples to find a solution. To me, I'm like, it's time to try to return the favor a little bit. So, and I've showed him ways that, so like some of the samples and stuff where, we may have, we like to put a lot of default parameters into our modules and different functions to make it easy. So I've recently found a way to extract that out, and I have a JSON file that has all of my default parameters, and then I call that from my custom profile. So then in the function, I just, instead of listing the computer name or the IP address, I just list a reference to my custom parameter file. So that file stays local. It doesn't get exposed even if I put it out into a Git repository. And being able to sort of show that as being a way of doing it, they seem to be coming around. So, like I said, I'm hopeful that I'll be able to do a little bit more as things continue to evolve.
What about having the like no default parameters in the function, but then in your profile, like you were saying, I guess have that set your PS default parameter value hash table, and then add those locally to the hash table, and then share that with the team. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not quite as portable, but I certainly understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think if that, I mean, you could probably even have, you could add, and like if there's multiple parameter values for different things, you could have those still called out, instead of having like a huge big block of PS default parameter values. You can say, like I'm gonna locally all of these functions are the same, but my module is going to be loading some of these default parameter values, and that the module itself would be specific to your company or your team, whatever. Just an idea. Obviously, many ways to skin the same cat.
So
Well, it is after 9.
I was
my
going to
time.
say,
All right, well,
didn't you have a hard stop, Dave, or
yeah, kind of about 12 minutes ago, but you know what? The conversation was still going good, so.
especially with I'm sure there's a long day of Ignite going again tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Gonna be good.
Tomorrow's going to be a busy day.
And I managed to get into the afternoon session there.
Oh, man, I hope you guys aren't disappointed. I have no idea what we're going to talk about.
That'll be all good. No pressure.
It's going to go
I thought it
fast.
was going to be more of just everybody's going to hang out, like we're all going to hang out together. It's going to be great.
It is. We're just
What
gonna,
time is it?
It's 4 o'clock tomorrow, Ignite. If you haven't joined, I don't know if there's any spots left. You could try. But
I was lucky, but then I was refreshing every 2 minutes waiting for a spot to open up.
yeah, so hopefully, I'm hoping there's some new people there. Hopefully answer some good questions for them. So
Not just the
but
usual suspects.
Yeah, so I mean, I know there's going to be some regular faces there, but we're basically doing a 2-3 minute intro, and then we're just going to try to get conversation started and answer as much questions as we can in 30 minutes. That's really the whole talk. So,
That's gonna be good.
yeah.
Do you
All
know
right,
how
gents.
long it usually is before they plan on posting those back up after the sessions are done?
So we were just talking about that before I got on here with you guys. We are going to record it. We don't know if they're ever going to make it public, because they had said early on that the table talks were sort of not going to be recorded. Now they're letting us record them. I don't have any control of that because it's in the Microsoft tenant, so the video will stay there.
Sure.
Joey IL will have some access to it, but I don't know what they're going to do with it. So, but we'll see. Should be good though.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Well, thank you for showing up, gentlemen, and we'll
Yeah.
Well, we got about 2 weeks. Yeah, we've got Josh King in 2 weeks on the 13th. And then, so yeah, open discussions every 4th, and then guest presenters every 2nd Tuesday. And
Okay.
Mike, I do have November and December open still.
All right. I'll shoot you something. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I have a modules talk I could do.
Sounds good. Sounds
figure
good.
something
Yeah,
out.
but just hit me up there on Twitter and we'll talk about it.
Okay, man. And I
Thanks,
have more
guys.
dad jokes for you.
Dad jokes are always good. Yeah, I used
All right.
yours from last week. I used that one this morning.
I saw.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the one about what is a fish with no eyes?
Oh yeah,
What do you what do you call a fish with no eyes? Fish.
yeah, for sure. Did you hear about did you hear the one about butter?
No,
Never mind. I shouldn't spread it.
my God.
And with that, I'm leaving.
See you later, guys.
All
See you
right. Have a
guys.
good evening.